Hello and welcome to ARK, the complete series. Well, it's a deja vu feeling again because we're actually back into a cave. This time it's actually the one for the forest titan, because the plan is, well, we're going to try and tame the forest titan this time. So we've already defeated it, but this time we want to tame it. And I was getting a bit bored, so I thought I'd actually bring the wyvern in instead. So this is Big Red. We've just literally flown all the way over here, cleared the platform out, gone up there to get the actual artifact, and then now we're ready to go over it and take on the actual forest titan. I mean, the reason I've come in with this Big Red here is just the fact that after a while it starts getting a bit boring coming in with just tech armor. So I thought, why not try something different? Because I mean, the server's actually set to allow, you know, flyers in the cave. So yeah, it made a bit of a difference, I must admit. I mean, I did actually bring Brexy Baby over here. He's got actually one of those like tech armor saddles, which is pretty good, I must admit. So I was actually going to do that, but then I thought, why not? Have a bit of fun, we'll bring our wyvern in. So yeah, she's been having quite a lot of fun actually, clear quite a lot of these lot out. So anyway, that's always annoying me though. Every time I do this sort of thing, I don't clear every single diner out, but you can hear something padding around. I always keep expecting like something's just going to come up and gank me. I don't know what happens if I start the teleporter and something joins in, whether it'll get teleported over with me or not. Because normally I would like completely clear the area out. But it just seems, yeah, after you've been doing it for several times, it gets a bit boring. Right, anyway. No, I don't want to upload a survivor. We want to do that. In the meantime, I'm going to pop her into a cryo pod because there's no point bringing her. The plan is, we're actually going to use our mech. Well, that went quickly. I thought it would take a bit longer. Right, so we just need to get teleported over to where the forest titan is, and we can jump into our mech, and we'll try and take on the forest titan. Because that one's a bit different, I must admit. The problem I have with it is the fact that it just keeps moving around a lot. And I have actually had one occasion where it's just, I wouldn't say it exactly despawned, but it just kind of like fell apart, because you've got to kind of keep it centered. You can actually, if it does go out to the edges, it does actually normally go back to the center. But what I've found on some occasions is that it does actually just basically just fall apart, and that's it. It's the end of the game, which kind of sucks. So there's a bit of a trick to trying to time these, I think. So like if it's in the middle of an attack, I mean the first node's usually pretty straightforward. So if it's in the middle of an attack, or at least it's about to start one, then usually the arm's going to stay where it is. Except, let's see if it moves. Right, so that's a 1-2-60 hit. That's not too bad. Oh, that's a bit of a swipe there. That always freaks me out, because it's actually when it loses the first node that it actually decides to start to try to actually grab you. Oh, yeah, that's all right then. But yeah, usually you can kind of like time it if it's in the middle of some sort of attack, then it's not so bad. Something's chewing on my leg. What the heck is that? Zombies or something? Oh, Titanomeras, okay. Yeah, so the shoulder nodes aren't too bad. I think the hardest one's going to be the... Struth. Yeah, this is always going to be my challenge at this stage. It's going to be trying to get that thing to stay still. That's not too bad. So that's something I want to take advantage of, is to get it to draw it back to the center. Because it's kind of like the Ice Titan. Hang on a bit, is that just suddenly... Yeah, that's what I was talking about. See there? It's just completely reset itself. That is nuts. See, like with the Ice Titan, you don't get that. If the Ice Titan goes out to the edge, it just comes, you know, just literally heads back. Whereas this thing, that's it. It's game over. And I don't like that at all. To me, that's just crazy, because these Titan fights, they're not cheap. So you've got to be really, really careful. Now I'm going to have to wait for a while because it takes a while for the actual Titan to be available. I think it's about 6+ hours or something. So it means I'm now going to literally go back. But the plan was basically to take out the 2 nodes on the shoulders, and then you take the one out on the chin. But yeah, that to me is just crazy. It shouldn't have done that. It should have literally just gone back to the center, like, you know, kind of like the Titan, the Ice Titan does. So, right, guess I'll have to come back to this a while and try again. Right then, I think this is take 5. It's just taken, I don't know, and it's just not my day. I think it's just one of those things. I mean, what I've been finding is that if I go after this, you know, Forest Titan here, I mean, I'm seriously struggling to even hit one of its arms, because, oh, well, for one thing, it decides to turn around. The other thing is, it's a case of what's actually going on is it's getting distracted by other things. If it gets distracted, if it gets distracted by things, the big problem I've got is it then goes off center. And if it goes off center, oh, see, it's always moving around as well. That's another big hassle. If it goes off center, oh no, I thought I might have hit it that time. I'll see if it stumps, because that's what I found is I can hit it from the side. If it goes, I mean, it's going through like a flailing motion. Now, if it goes through a stomping motion, it's easier, because if I can time it while it's stomping, it's actually easier for me. See, like that, where it's swiping, for example. That's easy to time. Oh, hang on, I need to move. That's one thing I definitely need to learn to do. Because otherwise I'll get rooted. Yeah, you can see these little rooted patches over there. But, yeah, it gets too easily distracted, unfortunately. So, if you can line yourself up on the side while it goes through that stomping motion, so if it stays in one place and just stomps, it's quite easy to actually time a shot. But the problem is, it gets too easily distracted and it's going off to the edges. These, like wyverns, for example, are going all over the place and leaving the area. The problem for me is that's dragging the Titan out of the area, and the Titan then comes back to the center. Now the trouble is that if I've done some damage on the node, it's getting reset. So that's a major problem for me, because I'm losing so many like shells, so much elements if I use the gun. The gun, even with this mech, which is a higher level mech, I still struggle to even take. I mean, I've gone through, like, you know, a couple of hundred element, and I still haven't been able to take a single node out. Mostly because of the fact that it keeps coming back to the center again. It's just way too easily distracted. But in some ways that's good, because if I can get it distracted, then it's a case of I can then start timing shots against its shoulder. So like there, for example, if I can line up a shot... no, it's not doing it now. If I can come in from a side and it just basically starts to stomp, I can line up a shot in line with the animation, and I'm usually on target, which is good. The drawback, as I say, it's going off and out of the area. When it does that, the problem... hang on, it's going to root itself. The problem when it does that is it's a case of, well, yeah, we're back to square one again, so I end up losing a lot of cannon shells as a result, because I've tried using them on the actual nodes, but the nodes then reset. So at the moment it's busy flailing. What I'm interested in doing is stomping. It's got its back to me now. That's the other problem, is the fact that it also just moves around too easily. I mean, it doesn't always like aggro onto me. It's worse than... For me, this is like harder and worse than the actual Ice Titan. The Ice Titan was too easily distracted as well. That was just getting in the way. Other things were like targeting it, or it was targeting practically anything and everything. And the problem I was then finding was that it was very, very difficult to actually get its attention again. And in this particular case, it's worse, because sometimes what it'll do is it'll go off off to the side somewhere, and it'll just keep going. And if it resets, sometimes what will happen is it'll come back to center, and then what we'll get is, I mean, that's good in some respects. It's gone off, come back, it's healed itself, but obviously it's healed the node as well. So whatever damage I've done to the node's been lost. The other problem I've got is that sometimes it'll actually just completely despawn. So this is literally take 5 because it's despawned 5 times so far. See there, it's going back to center. So whatever damage I've done to that node has now been lost. I've got to go back through the whole process again. And I'm finding it tricky because while it's moving around, it's hard for me to target it. If it's coming towards me, there's obviously some strategy that I'm missing. But I definitely don't remember it being this difficult. Especially the fact that it's despawning. I certainly don't remember it despawning. So somehow I've got to keep it aggroed onto me, but I don't want to be too close, otherwise... And I've really got to focus on one specific node. If I don't, what I run the risk of is that it'll just aggro onto something else, go back to center, and I'm back to square one. Aha! Finally, that's arm number 1. So I'm going to have to be... The trouble is, I've taken one arm off. And now you've got to be like extra careful because it's got a grab option now. And that's what the bit I don't like, is that the screen freezes for some strange reason. I mean, even with a high-end graphics card, it still freezes, which is nuts. Oh man! Now that's weird. It's getting stuck in its animations again. So sometimes it's stuck, and then you're thinking, oh, okay, is it going to still be stuck? This is just plain weird. Like I say, I feel in some ways I feel kind of bad taking advantage of it, but on the other hand, it's like, man, it's just getting nuts. Right, so now we're down to the chin node. Yeah, I know, you ticked off. Not half as much as me. This is like take 5, dude. I've literally had to... I've got that fed up with it. I've ended up... I think the server's been like reset about something 5 times. So rather than just like waiting like 6 hours to try again because the thing's decided to respawn, I've just like, forget it. I'm just going to reset the server and roll back to the previous save. Now what I do in that, it's a case of the game is saved up to the point before I go into the cave, because one thing I do know is if I go into the cave and save, what actually happens is, I mean, the server has like an automated save on it anyway, but if I was to go into the cave and save the game, what I found is things respawn, which isn't good. So like if you're on the that platform, for example, if you're on there and you reload at that point, you actually end up where the you actually end up on the platform with tons of those creatures all respawn. So it's like, no, that's not good. So you've got to, oh yeah, that's never fun. Yeah, I was starting to panic there. I thought it had aggroed onto something over there. Because if it had aggroed onto something and was going to go out, I'll be back to square one again with a chin node. Oh, there's a swipe. Oh, there's a grab. And now it's trying to it's going to try and I suppose you can try and strafe it while you're doing it. That's one way. There's only one little patch that it creates, where where it'll try to route you. See if I can pull it further in this direction. So I'd like it back as close to the centre as I can get it. There must be an easier way to... Yeah, I can never tell when it's... Yeah, there must be something in the animation, because it's like, it kind of pushes its hand forward when it's going to grab you. Whereas when it's going to swipe at you, it's... Oh yeah. I did the swipe when I was going in the opposite direction. Yeah, I would have thought there might be an easier way to be able to get that cannon on target, I suppose. So you can see it kind of pushes its hand out when it's trying to do that shot. Well, it's probably a bad idea moving in that direction, but I'm trying to basically strafe so I don't stay in one position. Dude, do not even think of going somewhere else. Seriously, dude, just like stay where you are. Let me just shoot the node, and everybody will be happy. I think that's the solution. You stay where you are. Yeah, I'm trying to find a tactic that's going to work for that center node. Yeah. I know you're miffed, but you know. So now you're going to try and route me. Ah, you're stuck. One thing I've noticed is my mech has got, there's hardly any health left on this mech. I'm just seriously trying to take advantage of these stuck positions, to be honest. On the other hand, it's a case of you never know when the animation's going to break. Right, so that in itself suggests we're onto something. I'm seriously wondering if these shells are actually counting, because I'm using that many shells and it's like, nope, not enough. That's it, I'm out of shells. That's bizarre. So I went through tons and tons of shells and it's still not enough to take out the sentinel. I mean, this is I don't know, this is just a weird glitch where it just gets stuck every now and again. But whether that's there we go. Finally shine a light. Jeez Louise. So that's about, it's taken me probably about, I'd say about 2.5 hours. So to come out as a beta. So even though I've been hitting it with an actual, you know, twice it's gone back to centre. Yeah, twice it's gone back to centre. And it's gone to, I didn't really do that much damage on the third node because it kept going back to centre yet for whatever reason. It's just a beta. Oh well, c'est la vie. Right, so this is going to be a problem because I don't have my shoes. Ooh, ow. I don't think that's on follow, is it? Right, we'll leave that there for now because what I do need to do is I need to get these mechs back. So this one was down to about 15 element. Have I got any on me? Yeah, so I haven't used any of my own elements. So the main one that I started off with had 100. Can't remember how much this one was, but that, to be honest, that was just like extremely lucky, the fact that it got stuck. Yeah, that one's hardly got any element at all left. Jeez Louise. So what I've now got to do is get this beastie back to... I mean, the ramp's around here somewhere, but I've got to get this all the way up to... right up the top, more or less where my second finger is, where we actually go and take on the actual king tame. So I'm a bit miffed that it's a beta, because... yeah, most of the time when it was taking damage, it was a case it was just taking shell, because it's kind of weird, that I must admit, because it was going out, you know, getting its health reset, and you could see it was at maximum health for most of the time. So, you know, I was hardly doing any damage with the actual, with a gun, and yet, you know, mostly the only time I used the shells against it was when it was effectively stuck in those weird positions. So yeah, it's got me puzzled at. But anyway, I need to get this back to where the king titan's going to spawn. Oh wow, this thing's been such a hassle trying to get it moved. It's such a slow, lumbering thing, and then it's a case I'm finding sort of like pathways that are too, you know, not high enough basically for it to fit through, and then there's a case of I found out apparently you can actually upload it to a beacon, so I've done that, and I'm just waiting for it to effectively download. It says it's downloading from the beacon, so I don't know how long that's going to take, but it's... The trouble is I ended up having to restart the server because the battle music really gets on my nerves. It's really annoying. I've done it this... The amount of time that ARK's been around, or at least Extinction, you'd have thought they would have fixed these like annoying bugs by now. But no, they've just added more. It seems they've kind of made it worse. So, yeah, c'est la vie. Now the odd thing is, I'm seriously surprised that this thing's still here. I'd have thought it would have despawned by now, because it's been around for a while. They've got limited time. You only have them for a certain amount of time, because I'm on a server. But the weird thing is when I come here, it actually, well, it doesn't have a saddle for some strange reason. It spawns in, but there's no saddle. And I found this is like really, really weird. So, I mean, I can actually get on it. So it's kind of messing things up if it doesn't have a saddle. So you can see you can ride it, but this is where it starts to get interesting. So I'm supposedly somehow riding this thing. Now, let's see. It'll be interesting to see if it does it again. I think it will, but here I'm going to actually dismount from it. There you go. I've ended up in the middle of Sanctuary by dismounting from that thing. It's like I'm stuck in the air. Now, oddly enough, if I just literally move, I don't actually move very far, and I'm back here. Now, eventually, I'll end up back on the floor. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to wait for the. I mean, like I said, there's no saddle. It's really weird. I'm going to wait for that thing to respawn back into the world. Because as far as I'm aware, you can actually transfer them. I didn't realise we can transfer them between maps because of that. So that's an interesting feature. That it's a lot less hassle for transporting them around. But yeah, we'll wait for this to come through, because what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to log off the game, log back in, and that should, as far as I recall, fix it. That problem of that thing not having a saddle, because I do actually need a saddle, because I need to ride it for one thing to be able to control it. So it's a case of, like I say, I'll just wait for this thing to come back into the world. Once it does, I'm going to log off, log back on, and then we'll go and check and see how actual Ice Titan's doing over there. Now I've got to admit this is weird. I mean, that thing's logged back into the, well, basically that thing's loaded into the world, but this one, it's now got its saddle, because I logged out, logged back in again. Now, obviously it doesn't actually eat anything. You can see it's got quite a bit of food. It's fully healed now, so I can ride this one now. So you can see it's now working. But the trouble is, when this thing loaded into the world, it literally has no food. All its food just completely disappeared, and it's actually losing its health at a rapid pace. The big problem is, like, that Ice Titan, I can't ride it either. So there's something definitely weird going on. I mean, if I go up to its foot, it gives me options to like harvest settings, for example. Let's see if I get up to right up to the height, see if I'll be able to ride it from here. Because it's saying it's got 0 food and the health is rapidly depleting. But I can't ride it now. I tell you what, see if I log out and then log back in again. Very weird. Because I might have to reset the server or roll it back, because without the food that thing's going to be dead in a matter of, well, just a couple of hours probably. And that's no good to me, because I want to at least be able to test it against the Gamma King Titan. Yeah, it's got no saddle still. I wonder if that one's got its saddle still. Yeah, that one's got its saddle. Well, this is just crazy. So it's. Yeah, I think our beacon system's probably not such a good idea. So I thought, to me, that was an extremely useful way to transport that thing. I mean, we were out there because I was heading for that side over there near the. Well, I think it's there. I was heading for where the snow beacon is. Yeah, because I was going to come in from that side. I was going to try that way. But it was a case of, right, then I learned, yeah, you can use the... That's just weird. I'm going to restart the server and see if that fixes it. Well, restarting the server certainly fixed the saddle on this. It's now actually does have a saddle. I mean, if you look at its inventory, you can see there is no such thing as a saddle. I can't do anything, but the trouble is its health's rapidly going down because it's got no food. I mean, it had plenty of food before I put it into the beacon system, and now it's got none. And they're food reserves, because if I go over to the Ice Titan, this thing's been sitting around here for a while. So this thing took a lot of damage when I basically brought it here. And then it healed itself up, so its food reserves have been slowly going down. Now I can't feed it. I mean, I put some meat in there just on the off chance. I forgot you can't feed them. I think there is an option you can set to basically force feed them, but without food that thing's going to be next to useless to me, because I've still got a ways to go, because the plan is to use that in the actual boss fight against the Ice Titan, but it's going to be next to useless to me if its food reserves have now gone, because its health's going to just keep going down and down and down. I was hoping to be able to take it through, not just through for the actual alpha, and not through the actual gamma as well as the beta titan. But that's just not going to be practical, because once the actual, assuming we actually get through, it's not going to have enough health left. There's no way it's going to be able to then heal itself. So I think realistically I'm going to have to roll back the server. Hopefully to a point. I know I've got a point where I actually got it, because that's where I stopped it, because it was just, battle music was really getting on my nerves. I saved it at that point. Well, I honestly, I don't know what happened there. This is just plain weird. We've now got our Forest Titan working, shall we say, because it does actually have some food. You can have a look in its inventory and you can see its food's going down because it's using that to actually heal itself. And that's the thing with these Titans, they've got a certain amount of food reserves, so they will heal themselves up from those food reserves. But then once the food runs out, they'll start to starve, as you saw. So I honestly don't know what happened, because I mean, we were out in that sanctuary area out there, and I uploaded it to the beacon system. Came up here with Big Red, downloaded it, and it was respawning into the game. And then it was a case of it just didn't have an actual working saddle. You could see it, but it wasn't working. And it was a case of it didn't have any food reserves at all. Likewise, we've got this weird thing with the Ice Titan, where every time I come up here, it's a case of it doesn't have an actual saddle. I can ride it, and if I get off, I end up in Sanctuary for some strange reason. I can get back again. If I log out, log back in, that fixes that. But yeah, this one was a real doozy, I must admit. Fortunately, there was actually a save where we were literally just outside of the teleporter, because when I loaded that one up, this thing had spawned back into the game. So I was right next to it, and when I looked at it, yeah, it had its saddle and it had all of its food back again. Well, I say all of it, most of it, because as I say, it's actually healing itself up. So I don't know what actually happened. I can only assume that somehow loading it down, down from the actual teleporter, so from the beacon system just took away its food and left it with no food, even though it did have food. I can understand probably the saddle, because if you upload a normal dino to the beacon system, any inventory it's got is lost. The weird thing about these Titans is they don't have any inventory anyway. They've got nothing on them. There is no saddle, you can see. So they're a bit of an oddball. It's not as if like the saddle fell off, and was left in a bag or something. So yeah, I think you've got to be a bit careful there. But when I loaded that previous save up, which was at that point where it had presumably just been getting downloaded, it was fine. So yeah, it's a bit weird that. But I've had to log back out again because I've started the server and then just come back up into this area. I've had to log back out again and log back in to get the Ice Titan saddle back. So like I say, there's one thing you can say about this game is it's always throwing a bit of a curveball. There's always some weird thing going on. Anyway, I think I've had enough of Titans for one day. So it's a case of, well, unfortunately, there's more to come. That's all for another episode.